Welcome back to Cosmic Conversations. You are tapping in to the root of the symmetry. I am your boy. I'm doing this with one arm right now because I got the pad in the. Okay, we can hit two arms to Hootie Trismegistus, aka Chase Clarence Calloway. And today's question is about psychedelics, specifically using psychedelics to tap into your God self. Yo, Chiquetet. I have 5 grams of mushrooms and I'm going to trip alone for the first time ever. Sounds beautiful, my guy. Every time I trip with people, I def have fun, but I feel like I'm distracted from my spirit. So now it's time to connect with myself. Love it. Any advice? P.S. I may have been inspired to do this after watching your stories where you tripped in the woods for your birthday. That was a very awesome trip. Definitely. 5 grams of mushrooms will get you there. Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about the importance of using psychedelics to connect with yourself and not others. Because this is what this person is basically talking about. How they are used to tripping with others. Yeah. So they've tripped before, but every time they've tripped, it's been with people. And they have fun, but they feel like they're distracted from their spirit. Absolutely. Because literally, when you're dealing with other spirits, you're distracted from your spirit. That's the thing. Like, that's just how it has to be. So if you're not alone, then you're all one, which means that you are not an individual. You're connecting your individuality to something outside of you. So now you're focusing on that thing. And that easily becomes worship, basically. And that's kind of what paying attention to anything is. That's you worshiping it. The more you pay attention to something, you are building the ship. We can say the warship of that thing. And that warship would be just the relationship, that actual, think of it like a vessel. You are using your ability to communicate through your body to build this vessel. So the more you pay attention to anyone outside of yourself, you are building into them. Now, this is where connections are hell, relationships are hell, because all the negativity, all this horrible stuff, war, any fight, it takes two people, it takes a connection. So when you deal with other people's negative circumstances, that's what connections are all about, basically, is that two-way street of you chose to connect to this person. So even though their circumstances are not yours, because you chose to connect to them, everything that they're dealing with is now something that you're kind of dealing with as well. So this is why it's so important to be careful who you trip with. If you're tripping with people that hate themselves, if specifically, if there is spirit that does not like their internal world, they don't like where they came from, so they made a body with the intention of consuming the world that they're in to run away from themselves, then they're just going to consume you. And this is sadly most people in this realm. Most people down here are demons, all right? Straight up. Most people on earth in general are spirits that hate being alone. And they hate being alone, so they'd much rather make you be with them. Because misery needs company. This is how hell is created. Because misery needs company, these spirits that don't want to be in their own space will use their energy to go out of their space and colonize others. And then that's where we get colonialism in general. And all the desires and infinite stuff that comes out of spirits taking those sorts of actions because they can't build a world alone. They need to go enslave people and make them hate themselves and create all these lies so that they can build on top of those other people's worlds, because these people literally can't build alone. This is everything cosmically. If you don't like being alone with yourself, I'm so glad you want to trip alone. If you don't like being alone with yourself, then that means you don't like building. If you don't like being alone with yourself, you're not a constructive person. You're a destructive person. People who don't like being alone are running away from some negativity that's eating them up inside, and they don't want to deal with it, which means they would rather eat everything else in the world. So you might think that this person loves you, but really, this is why if someone doesn't love themselves, then they can't love you. And people can waste so much time in all these relationships with people who claim to love them, but they don't actually love them. Like if you can have many relationships with people and they can all claim to love you. Chances are they don't love you. They don't actually love you. They want you. They desire you. And then that's where the longer you're with them in certain relationships, you can peep out the subconscious realm. Why do they want you? Why do they desire you in their space? Why do they love you? And if these are people who hate being alone, if they don't love themselves, then they definitely don't love you. They're not adding on to you. Their version of love for you is taking from you. And the moment you have nothing more to give, that's when they stop loving you and they hate you. Because it just shows how they're passionate about what? Connecting with anything but themselves. So this is where you get the like people who just burn through relationships. Like they're just like going through them because they want to connect with anyone but themselves. But every time they connect with people, they bring the negativity of why they don't want to connect with themselves to that person. And then everyone that connects with them is like, whoa, like they seem nice. That's the point of Luciferian light in general. We love light because spirits like expressing themselves. So we all love light. Light is what allows us to look like individuals. It's just then we get lost in light. We get lost in looking like individuals. And that's where we use ideas to just infinitely separate ourselves and become negative and block the natural chi, the natural flow of energy that is making our bodies healthy in the first place. So if you are tripping with people that don't like to be alone, if you have a group of friends and they claim to be your friends, but you can peep out, especially when you trip with them, that they don't actually love themselves, then they don't actually love you. Like, it's important to know this. If you can peep that people don't like themselves, if they hate themselves, then they kind of hate you too. You know, like people aren't going to treat you better than they treat themselves. People can't love you more than they love themselves. The ego especially won't allow it. So essential to watch out who you trip with. I've been in these scenarios where I trip with people and they hate themselves, but they don't want to address that. They would rather just make you connect on how much they hate themselves, but they want to laugh and feel good about it. But the moment you're like, yo, that's actually not okay. Now you're the negative one. You feel me? Everyone who's a Virgo who's with me right now definitely feels me. This is a main Virgo thing where we'll just be like so seeing the details that we attract these situations where people, they want to relate on how horrible and messed up they are. And for some reason, people enjoy doing that. They like making jokes and talking how great about like how they don't feel good when they're alone, how they hate themselves, how they need to go out to be happy, but then even then they can never be happy, so life is just misery. And then that's how they truly feel. That's how they truly feel. And they want to connect on that positively. And this is where Virgos especially, we're like, bro, what? And we will separate that. We'll dissect that. We'll be like, yo, that's not funny. Like, you're trying to use positivity to allow yourself to be more negative, and you're trying to wrap me up in that. And I refuse. It doesn't feel good to laugh when people make jokes about how much they hate themselves. But again, that's just me being conscious of who I'm connecting with. So this is why it's so essential. You become your connections. The more you connect with another spirit, the more you're sharing space, and now all their internal stuff is becoming your internal stuff. All of their issues, all their projections, all their demons are becoming your issues, your projections, your demons. This is where trips can get wild. That's where psychedelic trips, the bigger the group, the wilder it gets. Because now everyone is starting to deal with each other's demons and like percepting and projecting, perceiving and projecting, whatever. Receiving, perceiving, projecting, seeing, inferring, reflecting, all these things that humans do together, especially in a psychedelic trip, and hopefully communicate about it in a very Gemini, open way. So tripping alone is essential. That shows that you love yourself. So I'm glad you want to trip alone. Because I've talked to many people like this, and they suss me out. They've always sussed me out. It just took me a good amount of time. It took me years to come up with a vocabulary as to why and how these people suss me out. Because this always made me upset when I had a relationship, specifically in art school, with someone, and at some point in this relationship, the person expresses that they hate being alone. It's like a switch goes off in me. Like the moment I'm in a relationship and this person is like, I hate being alone. Like I just need to like connect to someone. That was so many kids in art school. And people would like let it out at some point. Like it would be like just deeper and deeper into a relationship. They feel comfortable enough to release that dark subconscious stuff, those things that make them seem negative. And they talk about, oh, it's horrible to be alone. Like I hate being alone, not fun being alone, blah, blah. Like I would hate, and it's just like, whoa. If you don't like being alone, then why should I? How inconsiderate of you. What do you think of me then? If you hate yourself so much, if you don't want to be alone with yourself, then why are you subjecting me to being alone with you? Why aren't you making yourself someone that you love when you're alone so that you can then bring that to me? Because I love being alone. Oh my gosh. I literally could not be Chase Clarence Calloway, Tahuti Trismegistus, Chiquetet Thoth, Hermes flying through the astral realm if I did not love being alone. I couldn't fly. I would literally not be a spirit. I would not be a powerful spirit if I did not love being alone. I could not use my mental awareness, my Merkaba, to travel anywhere if I did not love being alone. I would be obsessed with being a body and trapping myself in some realm where I can keep consuming things that fill me up. And that's just the American colonial white supremacist condition that has created climate change and slavery and genocide and all this evil across this planet. Spirits hating to be alone, so they need to consume other people who love being alone. And these people who love being alone will love people who don't like being alone because they love themselves so much. We have all the love to give. I don't care if you don't love being alone. I love you. So, but then the moment you express to me that you don't love being alone, I have to separate because now you just showed me that I'm not supposed to love being alone with you. If you don't love being alone with yourself, what are you running from? What negativity am I now dealing with? Why would you rather consume my time than work on yourself? And it also lets me know that I could be anybody. So even in my ego, you're not relating with me as an individual. You're not relating with me as an individual, as who I am, as Chase Clarence Calloway. You're relating with me as someone else who you need to consume to feel better about whatever negativity you have going on. And I will be damned if I stay in any sort of relationship like that. My spirit makes me break off relationships, like just unconsciously, because I'll develop so many relationships with people. But most people in this world hate themselves. And this is what I've learned, like over my 24 years of being here. Like spirits are literally making bodies to run away from themselves. And I couldn't conceive it. I just couldn't conceive it. It took me being here for a long time to like actually see this and like just do a lot of investigating on my travels to really see this, because I don't feel that way. I love being alone so much. Being alone is the only time I'm creative fully. Like, and that's just wisdom. Like the moment you're spending time with someone else, you're consuming their creation. When you're alone with yourself, you're being creative. Like it's like that's it. It's that simple. It's truly that simple. I love my imagination. If you as a spirit have an imagination that you don't love, then yeah, you're going to be obsessed with other spirits' imaginations. And you're going to be obsessed with connecting. You're going to be obsessed with creating as many bodies and living as long as possible to connect to something outside of yourself because you hate your own imagination. Those aren't friends of mine. That's not my soul group. That's not anyone I desire to be connected with personally. Like, cool, we're connected in that we're creating this planet together, but don't think that you can actually like talk to me, please, honestly, because that's something I'm so fed up with. Like, people who hate themselves will waste all of your time because they're wasting all of their time because time isn't real. So they'll just waste your whole life. They will waste your whole life making you focus on them and using all their negative demonic energy to make you focus on them because they don't want to focus on themselves. They don't have anything creative to give to the world. So they need to use you as a creative individual to create their own life. And that looks like consuming your time, making you pay attention to them. That's how they manifest. See, like, it's all connections. So spirits are all alone. You gotta be an individual. Please, thank you so much for tripping alone. Thank you so much. Because so many people I've talked to, especially at conventions, and just in general, it's just that conventions are where I've met like the most people in like large amounts day after day. Like, but I mean, in many groups, like in church group, okay, we didn't talk about psychedelics much in church. We kind of did. But in school, like, so school and conventions, college conventions in church, if we want to make it the triple C, so much C. Everything I see is the C. College, church, conventions. No matter where I talk to people about psychedelics, I have always heard that people would rather do psychedelics with others and do them alone. Like, this is rare. This is why this question, I'm answering it. This is why I'm answering this question. I get questions. This question is getting answered because I love this. I love you. I love you who sent me this question. I don't know you. You're not even a person in my life. Like, I've not met you. I love you so much. I love everyone. I love people who don't love themselves because that's what they need to love themselves. Someone has to love them. If someone doesn't love themselves and no one loves them, well, okay, that's not fair. You feel me? So someone has to love them. Someone has to project positivity into them. It's just not your job to connect with them. You feel me? It's not your job to actually like communicate and, or at least at the very least, build anything with them. It will naturally happen because this is subconscious. The fact that we're all here on this planet together means that we're subconsciously already communicating our imaginations and our feelings and building something out of that. We're living proof of this right now. We're living proof of this right now. We're creating life right now. Very awesome. So when you love being alone and you know that you're creating life, life is way better. Everything's way better. You're just having a better time in general. Whereas people who are demonic, people who don't like being alone, they need to do everything they can to connect to others like you. And they need to make you hate yourself so that you'll pay attention to them instead of you. This is how religion spreads. That's how Christianity took over North, South, and Central America. By coming to indigenous peoples who love themselves and they're creating life on a natural spiritual level. And these people who don't feel like they're creating life, they hate where they're coming from. They hate their home. So they're risking their lives to go out over here, then feel like they are empowered to project all their evil onto these indigenous people and say, whoa, you're all evil because you're not worshiping the same Jesus that we are. So now it's a wrap. This is what happens when spirits don't like being alone. Literally, if you do not like being alone, then you are going to consume the environment around you. And that's how you kill people. So watch out for the people you're connected to. Again, like, if you are connected to people who like don't love being alone, if they express how like especially they don't want to trip alone, but they just like can't sit by themselves, then that's not someone you're supposed to be connected to at all. Especially someone who actually wants to trip alone and you actually are creative then. You want to connect to your spirit. You don't want to connect to other spirits through the body. Because that's what it means. If you don't like being alone, because all spirits are alone, if you do not like being alone, you do not like being a spirit. You would rather be a body. And all being a body is consuming the spirit. That's all being a body is. When you're in a body, now you're only looking for spirituality because that's what you're consuming. You're consuming the spirit. The spirit is the thing that's keeping your body alive. Your body can make up all these lies. The spirit's not real. I'm just whatever logic language I got indoctrinated into. Cool. And that's your life now. So that's how we get lost in light. See? And then we can create infinite realities. It's not too hard for a spirit to create a body and then ignore themselves. And now they're going to consume you. So now because they're ignoring themselves, they need you to focus on them, and they're going to consume all of your time and attention, and you're not going to feel good connecting to them because they don't feel good when they're alone. How can you feel good with someone who doesn't feel good when they're by themselves? Five grams of mushrooms is a nice amount. You're going to have a good time. Your spirit is going to love you. Like, your spirit wants you to be alone. Like, everyone who's in a body right now, if you are in a body, your spirit wants you to join it again. I promise. I promise. That was the intention. I promise. I promise you. The intention of your spirit making your body is for your body to go outside, gather outside outside experiences, and bring them back. It doesn't want you to just go out and hate being home and become a runaway. That's not sustainable. At some point you get killed, you have to come back, but because you didn't even do the internal work of using these experiences outside of your home to make your home a better place, now your home is even worse. The whole point of you being alive is to make your spirit better, make your mind a better home to live. Turn your hell into heaven. Heaven and hell are the same exact place. It's all the mind. It's all how we feel about our spirits. So watch out. This is why relationships are hell. Because the moment you're connecting with someone outside of yourself, you're dealing with negativity. You're dealing with feelings versus thought, versus the positivity, versus just your spirit. You are forgetting that you're a spirit, basically. You have to forget that you're an individual when you connect with someone, or else you can't even fully relate with them. This is why we all have to act like we're human. And then we can have infinite arguments of what that is, and then that's where we get religion and all these groups, and then we just block ourselves out based on our beliefs anyway. And this is how we get soul groups and just bodies of water. And the whole universe is infinite bodies of water inside of one expanding body of water, because we all feel like connecting our imaginations. It's pretty awesome. So shout out you. I hope you enjoy your trip. You will enjoy your trip. Tripping alone changed my life. I know that. I know when I first started doing acid, it was always with people. It was always with people. It was when I first started, it was freshman year in college. And literally there was this girl. Oh my gosh. Yo, she was so fine. She was so fine. Like, she was fine. Like, she was finally 9999 fine. So cute. And this girl and I were just like friends, whatever. We had like our normal kind of relationship. We're like, it's college, it's freshman year, it's first semester. So it's, everyone's just kind of like talking. We like have our group and everything. It's lit. And this girl was a good friend of mine. And so we started to get tighter and started hanging out. Cool. There was nothing before this incident. There's a party. And my friend and I, we decide that we're going to do acid. This is my first time doing acid. I don't remember if it was his first time. For the sake of the story and honestly what it felt like, if I remember correctly, I think it might have been his first time. He's from California, so I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't do it before, or if he did do it before. Whatever it was, the energy made it seem like this was his first time, because we just like both split a Smartie tab. And we bought it from this guy who ended up becoming our future roommate. So that was pretty funny. And what happened was when we both like took this half tab, we go to the party, we start to trip. And it's wild because I'd never experienced anything like this. like colors like getting brighter and like me just getting more like aware of my body and like how my body's connected to the environment around me. And like what's happening in the environment around me and how it's affecting my body. And then like all the other bodies around me. I'm like, whoa, like vibes. Vibes. Everything's a vibe. Oh, whoa, vibes. You know, just like feeling everyone's vibrations, and we're all just creating this pool of water inside this apartment. And of course, there's music. That actually, this party was specifically a situation where um, our we had friends, specifically my RA. He's very awesome RA too. We like very tight because we're both black, so that was very nice in college. Like, and in my school, we had a 3% black population. Despite being an SEIC, 0% indigenous population. So black is the indigenous population, but whatever. 3% black population. So the fact that my RA was black and he made music was just already nice. We already clicked. Like I'm pretty sure. Actually, yeah, he invited me to the party. Yes, because he was performing. He was performing with this other girl, and we were all in the crowd because they were like upperclassmen, we're younger classmen, and we're hyping them up, also having conversations, normal college stuff in this apartment. And this is my first time tripping, and I'm alone, but I'm also like connected with my friend. We're gonna call him Grace. Grace is a girl name, so we're gonna call him Grace. If there are guys named Grace out there, dope, because Grace would slap as a male name, high key. Grace is over like in a different room. So as I'm like ramping up on the acid, talking to people, it's the whole environment's changing. Everything's becoming much more detailed and much more wild. And I noticed huge changes in my body, specifically my ego. What I'm getting at is that acid was totally different than drinking. When I would drink, I would get more into my desires and I would observe it. Well, I could observe like, okay, that's funny that I didn't find this girl attractive really before taking this many shots, but now I'm totally down to like make out with her. And I know I don't really want to. So this is how, that's a different video. Alcohol is used to make people connect. And this is why this simulation makes alcohol readily available, because this world wants you to connect to it in a way that makes you addicted and kills you even. So that's why alcohol is poisonous. They don't want you to do DMT because that's the opposite. You're going to realize you're a spirit creating your life here, and now they can't make money off of enslaving your mind. So they're going to give us alcohol to kill ourselves with and connect and project all of our negativity onto each other. That's like the whole thing with alcohol being demonic. It brings out people's demons. It takes off that logical processing of the prefrontal cortex, whatever, and it makes people enact more on their subconscious desires. And subconsciously, the only thing that kept us is keeping us, our heart beating. The only thing, your subconscious is beating your heart because it desires to connect with something outside of itself. That is the whole reason your spirit is using the mind it made to beat your heart. You desire to connect with something outside of yourself. That is your body, because your body allows you to then connect with spirits who are also creating bodies in the same body that you're in. So alcohol will get you like, okay, I'm gonna connect with people that I would not otherwise connect with, right? Like obviously, that's like the whole thing with alcohol. You wake up without your memory, and then you look to the side and you're like, whoa, I just hooked up with two people that are about to make my life really hard in the future. That's why I don't like drinking. So yeah, no, forget alcohol. Like alcohol is whack. Like it literally like that's such the weird thing about alcohol. We can really learn something about alcohol. I gotta break this down a little bit right here, because I didn't realize this. Alcohol, what we can learn about connections is that the best way to connect to others is to forget. This is why alcohol makes you forget things. DMT will never make you forget things. Acid, at least for me, I don't forget, but this is a weird thing that I've learned with like tripping with many people. People will say and like do and have whole conversations with me that they don't remember on acid. And it's like they're subconsciously communicating everything that they want to communicate to me, but they don't want to take responsibility for it. Like they want to keep living the lie. That's the point of life. Life is a lie. So when we do psychedelics, the truth always comes out because that's where you're creating life from. That's your death. That's what you're scared of. Yet the best way for you to connect to others is to tell them your fears. So people tell me like all their subconscious stuff, and then I appear negative later when I bring it up. And it's too easy for them to be like, I don't remember that. You got a problem. Then they can just do whatever, and they feel like they killed the demon because all of a sudden me bringing up what they were telling me that they don't like in themselves and all this negativity they've got going on makes them feel negative, and they take that negative projection, put it onto me, and then they kill me, aka cut me out, do whatever they need to do to feel like they've killed me and kill the idea of me in their life, and now they can feel better in their lie. This is the whole point of sacrificing Jesus. This is how Christians and white supremacists work to spread across the globe. Oh, this African man fasted for 40 days, so we don't have to. Let's kill him and worship the government that has us reading the book about how they killed him so that we can spread genocide and be happy, because this is how we gain freedom. Freedom. So that's why alcohol makes you forget things. And that's, I'm just saying, like, acid should not make you forget things. But if you're a spirit who's running away from yourself, you're just gonna either say that you forgot and like maybe you really did forget what you told me, or you're lying. You're just lying because you don't want to take responsibility for what you did. And whatever. Either it's conscious or subconscious. Either way, the truth comes out. And with alcohol, if you are actually just want to connect, you're only focused on connection, then you need to forget who you are. And that's the point of alcohol. It makes you forget who you are so that you can just connect with whoever you want. And you can connect in a way that appears, I don't know, fun or whatever. Because that's what it takes to connect. If you are an individual, if you fully remember everything about yourself and who you are, you're not really going to want to connect with many people. Like, you're going to want to connect with more people who are like you. So that's the point of, if you're an individual spirit, but you want to connect with other individual spirits, we're all too individual to relate. So we need to create the feeling of wanting to connect, and then we communicate. So that's where we get fire to water, and then we have air. Everything is air. And now that we're communicating our feelings of wanting to connect to each other, that's where we get all this infinite logic, all this infinite earth that allows us to do this in never-ending ways. It's pretty awesome. So watch you trip with, so happy that you're tripping alone. You're only going to do it more and more. That's where, actually, hold up. That's hilarious. Hold up. I did not finish this story for us. That's so funny. I'm glad you're tripping alone. This is how I learned that I needed to trip alone. That's how I got on this. Alcohol makes you forget because you are going to be so obsessed with connecting. Acid should not make you forget, but people do forget because if they're running away from themselves, or they just, it's that. If they are running away from themselves, but they want to connect, they're going to find ways to express the truth to you without taking responsibility or being conscious that they're expressing the truth to you. And then that's where like people can get possessed by themselves. Like you can if you're tripping with people, they can get possessed by their higher self, and their higher self, their spirit, will articulate the truth to you. They will tell you where this person is coming from, so you can actually know where the relationship is going. If that's the point of doing psychedelics with people. Like ideally, if they're connected to their spirit, their higher self can come in and express actually where they're coming from, actually where this body is being made from, what's going on in the mind, so that your minds can actually connect, and then you can really build something deeper instead of just drinking alcohol and having fun on the surface, but really you're just forgetting everything that you're doing because you're so lost in wanting to connect. You're not even trying to build memories about it. So with acid, this is how I learned it was totally different than alcohol. Because alcohol would make me want to connect so hard that I found girls who were not attractive. And I would observe that and not succumb to that. And I would also doubly, this is what acid really showed too, see how girls who otherwise are like not necessarily trying to connect would only want to connect on alcohol. And guys, I would then watch guys want to take advantage of that and they want to connect with me about how cool it is to take advantage of girls who only want to connect when they're drinking. And it's just like wild, everything. Does the desire to connect, but why? The subconscious things, that's everything that matters. Why do you want to connect? How do you want to connect? Where? When? What do you want to connect? So, when I was tripping and I started like really feeling it, this girl that is fine 9999999 came up to me and she started macking on me hard, like out of nowhere. And I was starting to see how she was coming up like, oh Chase, like me, like you're so attractive, like just saying all this stuff that I'm not even trying to take the time to repeat. She was clearly though coming from a very inebriated state. And one, drunk girls are unattractive to me. I don't want to hook up with a sloppy drunk girl. Two, it shows me that she's running away from something. And this is like my first like very clear experience, especially on acid, of like, whoa, this girl who is normally attractive to me is all of a sudden not attractive to me. And this girl was trying to like, she was working so hard trying to invite me back to her dorm. She's like, I have a single dorm, like I'll come and bring you back, like I'll blow you, like she was like grabbing my hand and like putting it on her boot. This is a girl that I was into, literally. Like she was saying that like she would give me head. She was pulling me out of the party and like she climbed on me in the street and was begging me to let her call the Uber to take us back to the dorms instead of being at the party. And I'm like, I'm here for the party. I'm tripping right now. I'm like, I'm not leaving Grace. You think I'm gonna leave Grace? I'm connected to Grace. You're crazy. So this girl, I like pulled her back off the street into the party. She like, we took her to the bathroom. Then she tried to pull me in the bathroom. There was a line, and she's just like wild, like, and again, she's inebriated, like sloppy. Okay, like a girl super just fine 9999, but stumbling and like all of that stuff. There was literally a point where like she like pulled me onto the couch and like started making out with me, and it was very aggressive, like. And I don't know why, like, why were the girls that I made out with freshman year like so bad at kissing? Like, like I'm wondering if it's like, is it because like people are just getting out of high school, or like are the girls that like I attracted really aggressive? So like I got like masculine energy girls who are like Chase, and they're like an alien. I guess. Whatever. She took it a step further than those girls who like to pry with the tongue. And she literally, in the middle of the party, like took her fingers and like put them in my mouth. So that's how I knew she was like out of her mind. She was like, oh, I was like, bro. And that was, yes, big lesson in how alcohol makes people get lost in the desire to connect so much that they're only doing it from this deeply negative subconscious space. And I could feel that on acid. And this girl who was otherwise physically attractive to me became instantly not attractive in all ways. And I did not let her take me back. I did not interact. Like we like kept it amicable afterwards, but I like didn't really get into situations of interacting with her like that anymore. And yeah, really like that's it. At some point she left school and now like we don't really talk. So that was just like a very clear example from my first acid trip. My first trip, especially in college, of how I would so much rather be alone, not hook up with a girl, than hook up with a girl who does not want to be alone with herself. And she's trying to interact with me from a place of running away from herself. And how this is sadly most spirits on earth, and this is what religions, Christianity, like Judaism, anything that's making you worship something relies on. It relies on spirits who don't want to be alone. If you already know your God, then no one else can convince you that they're God. Now you're just creators together, and now you're able to architect reality equally instead of someone convincing you that you're worthless, that you're all the negative things that they feel so they can project it onto you. But once they make you feel that, then they're able to be God because now they're using your God to create their world. So watch who you pay attention to. Watch who you trip with. So glad this person is tripping alone. This has been Cosmic Conversations. I hope you enjoyed that story. We learned a little bit just now. I didn't realize that about alcohol, so I have to develop that more. But I mean, of course, like the point is it's a liquid. So liquid is all about connection. So, I mean, any substance that's a liquid is going to be more about connecting emotionally. And then things that are solids are more about like connecting, well, physically, consuming physically, and gases are experiencing, going out, the actual external. That's the actual gas is going to be that highest vibration, right? Solid, liquid, gas. Yeah, I don't know, like, I just want to mention, like, whatever. That's the difference, like, edibles and smoking weed. You eat edibles, you're going to get that lower physical consumptive body high. And even, like, eating shrooms is sort of that. Like, shrooms is a very grounding psychedelic experience. Like, shrooms brings DMT into the earth. Because, like, that's sort of the point of it. With it being psilocybin, it's just mushroom coming out of the earth. Very earth consumptive grounding. DMT, you're not here. That's the air. See, so that's the experience. You're not connecting necessarily. Like you're experiencing, you're going out, and now that's real spiritual. Like that's where you see way more. Because when you're focused on connecting, you're shutting down something so that you can choose to be ignorant. So that's where, alcohol works. Shrooms are very special, although, the fact that you're still anchored in your body means that you're choosing to be ignorant of your spirit. Because when you are using your mind to operate the body, you are the furthest away from God, furthest away from your spirit as you possibly can be. So if you use your mind to separate from your body and travel, you're way closer to spirit. And that's the point of experiencing, and that's air. And that's where smoking things gets you to that realm more. So smoking weed, smoking DMT, smoking anything will correlate you more to the spirit. Drinking anything will correlate you more to your subconscious, to your soul, to your feeling. So your soul is you connecting with yourself. So all of this is the external representation of that. And then, your body, everything that you eat is going to be that physical consciousness sort of trip where it's, just low vibrational, basically. Very grounding. Like low vibrational isn't bad. The point is grounding. Let's say slower, right? So that's acid, right? Acid is long. Like, it's weird. Acid's long. Like, acid is another way, like, bringing the DMT spirit into the physical, where now, like, everything, you're still in your body, but you're hyper aware of your body. Everything is going longer, and time is just, And now a 12-hour trip feels like 1,200 years, literally. Like, I've had trips alone where it truly, like, you cannot tell me that I did not go through hundreds of years of mental processing and investigation and travel. Like, I know what I did. This is how then we can see that time is not real. Time is just perception. And then, of course, if we want to ground anything and build things together, we're going to create these things called seconds. First is our feeling, but second, we're going to be like, okay, we need to block out our feeling so we can build a clock. Trip alone. Psychedelics are awesome. Love yourself. Love being alone. Watch out for people who do not like being with themselves. If someone if someone does not love being alone with themselves, I promise you they do not love being alone with you. They just want to be alone with you. And sooner or later, they're going to hate being alone with you because you're going to remind them of the very thing they're running away from in the first place. Connect safely. Gang, gang. Yeah.